title First Day Fright. It was Daniel's first day at Crestview High, and he was more nervous than usual. The school had an unsettling reputation, rumors of strange occurrences, students going missing, and a long history of tragic accidents. He shrugged it off as just gossip to scare new kids. But as he stepped through the massive, ivy-covered gates, a chill ran down his spine. Inside, the halls were cold and dimly lit, despite the bright morning sun outside. The fluorescent lights above flickered, casting eerie shadows on the cracked, aged floors. Daniel noticed something peculiar. There were no sounds of laughter, no footsteps, no bustling groups of students. Just silence, broken only by the occasional hum of the lights. He approached his first class, room 207. The door creaked as he opened it, and inside was a handful of students, all sitting stiffly at their desks. Their faces were pale, their eyes blank. The teacher, an older woman with deep-set wrinkles, stood by the chalkboard with her back turned, writing a date that made Daniel's heart race: October 6, 1974. Daniel checked his phone. It was 2024. Confused, he quickly took a seat in the back. The teacher slowly turned around, her eyes unnervingly wide, her voice monotonous. "Welcome to Crestview, Daniel." He froze. How did she know his name? He hadn't introduced himself. The class continued, but something felt wrong. The students never spoke, never moved. They sat still, staring straight ahead. Occasionally, one would turn to Daniel, their expression hollow, mouths moving as if whispering something inaudible. When he leaned closer to one of them, a girl with dark hair and sunken cheeks, he heard faint words: "Don't leave. Don't go into the halls." At lunch, Daniel decided to explore, hoping to shake off the bizarre feeling. As he walked through the halls, he noticed things getting stranger. The lockers seemed to change positions each time he blinked. The bulletin boards had old, yellowed flyers announcing events from decades ago, dances and fundraisers that ended in disaster. Worst of all, he started seeing shadowy figures at the end of the corridors, quick, fleeting movements just outside his field of vision. He bumped into another student who seemed different from the others, a boy about his age who looked just as confused as Daniel. "Hey," the boy whispered urgently, "you're new too, aren't you? We need to get out of here." "What do you mean?" Daniel asked, feeling the weight of fear settle deeper into his chest. "This place isn't a school. It's a trap. No one ever leaves." The boy's eyes darted around nervously. "We're stuck in some kind of loop. I've been here for months, but to me it feels like years. The teachers, the students, they're all part of it. You're not supposed to realize it, but once you do, it gets worse." Suddenly, the lights above them began to buzz loudly, flickering violently. The air turned thick, and a low, groaning sound echoed through the halls. "It's starting," the boy said, his voice trembling. "They know we're catching on. We need to hide." Daniel felt panic rising in his throat, but before he could respond, the classroom doors along the hallway began slamming open and shut. The shadows he had seen earlier grew larger, darker, and started moving closer. The two of them ran, turning corner after corner, but the school seemed to stretch on forever, the halls warping and twisting like a maze. No matter which way they went, the shadowy figures were always behind them, getting closer with each second. They burst into an old storage room and slammed the door behind them, breathing heavily in the oppressive darkness. "What are those things?" Daniel gasped, leaning against the door. "They're not alive. They're remnants. Echoes of students and teachers trapped here for decades. They want us to join them." The boy's face was pale, and Daniel could see the terror in his eyes. But the worst is still coming. Before Daniel could ask what he meant, the temperature in the room dropped sharply, and a thick fog began seeping through the cracks under the door. A deep, guttural voice reverberated through the walls. "You can't hide forever." The fog swirled around them, and Daniel's vision blurred. He felt something cold brush against his arm. Suddenly, the door was ripped open, and standing there was the teacher from earlier, her eyes glowing an unnatural, eerie white. "We've been waiting for you, Daniel," she whispered, her voice now a distorted hiss. "It's time to take your place." Daniel tried to back away, but the fog was now suffocating, pulling him towards her. He felt his limbs grow heavy, the world spinning. As he fought to stay conscious, he heard the boy scream, "Don't let her touch you." But it was too late. Her icy fingers wrapped around his wrist, and the last thing Daniel saw before everything went black was her wicked, twisted smile. The next morning, a new student arrived at Crestview High. The halls were silent, the fluorescent lights flickered, and room 207 was ready. The teacher smiled at the pale, wide-eyed students sitting perfectly still at their desks. "Welcome to Crestview," she said, her voice cold. "We've been expecting you." In the back of the room, Daniel sat among them, his face pale, his eyes blank, just like the others.